Good afternoon, and thank you, bloody thank you for joining me for this new season of cookery videos. You asked me for cookery, so I'm serving it to you. Hot and tasty. That sounded wrong. Let's leave it in. I have got a notebook with me. It's not scripted, this video. I don't like to script videos. I think it's unnatural. I like to just talk, have a stream of consciousness approach to things. This is a new series. I don't know how long it's going to go on for. I've got no idea. Please don't have an expectation that you'll get this every single week, but I will try. I'll try my best. This series of videos is all about home-cooked meals. Now, what do I mean by home-cooked? Let me think back to when we were kids. I don't know about you, but our parents had a sort of rota of the same food that we would be fed week in, week out. There wasn't a great amount of experimentation, so it would be things like fish fingers and vegetables, beef mince in gravy with potatoes, spaghetti with cheese sauce, sausage and mash, hot dogs, roast dinner. You know, it was the same thing week in, week out. And, you know, we've got our favourites as well. We love a good pasta, a sort of bolognese. We do like fish finger sandwiches with chips and salad, a burger on a bun, veggie burger, obviously. We are pescatarian, as you can tell from the fish fingers, so we eat a little bit of fish. We do eat a little bit of processed food. I don't think there's anything wrong in that as long as it's minimal. So we do have our sort of roster of things as well that we enjoy. But we also like to experiment, and we also like to make something from nothing. You know, when you look in the fridge and think, what can I cook? We've got no food in, but actually you've got lots of things. So I think it's probably a good time to point out that we do have a good store cupboard. Paul is really great at buying things when they're on offer, and we've actually got stores of food all around the house. We've got things in the wardrobe, there are bran flakes and cereals, in amongst the coats and jackets. We've got these storage boxes under the bed on casters, and inside those we've got these big plastic crates. They're full of flour, pasta, bouillon powder. We've got dried goods in here, flours, bread flours, all sorts of bits and pieces. We've got jars of stuff. We buy pasta sauces when they're on offer, the good ones. We've got spices, herbs, tinned stuff, tinned tomatoes, tinned kidney beans, chickpeas, the occasional tinned soup, very handy for a quick lunch. So we've always got a good store of things we can draw on to flavour a dish or to add to a dish to bulk it out. We're also very hot on making sure our meals have good nutritional value. So what do I mean by that? Well, you've got your two main groups of nutrients. You've got your macronutrients and you've got your micronutrients. So what are the macros? Your carbohydrates, proteins, fats and fibre. Those are ingredients that you need a reasonable amount of every day for your body to function well. Your micronutrients that you need in very small amounts are your vitamins and your minerals. We don't tend to use recipes when we're cooking everyday home-cooked meals. We tend to throw things together, and that is really where I'm coming from in this series of videos. I've not actually planned what I'm going to cook today. I've thought about it slightly. I've had a little mooch around to see what I've got in stock, but I haven't formulated the idea yet. And that's what I like. And that's, I guess, why I said about this rota that people always seem to have, you know, especially in the 70s, of this is what we're going to cook. I like to add a little bit of creativity and try and think of a new blend of flavours. I don't like to be too wild and suddenly try a new spice in a large amount, because that would be silly. You know, I like to stay within the flavour groups that we know work and we know we enjoy, which is sensible because I couldn't bear the thought of any wasted food. We might also use leftovers. For example, leftover mashed potato. Very useful ingredient, can be turned into all sorts of dishes. Potato cakes, it can be used as a topping for a shepherd's pie or a cottage pie. It can be used as a topping for a bake. It can be used in an omelette. That's one of the things I'm going to show you at some point, my world famous mashed potato omelette. It's not world famous really, but it's good. It's about trying to inspire you to just get in the kitchen, see what you've got, and throw a dish together. Something that you might try again. For example, the other day I did a delicious pasta sauce with Quorn in a white wine sauce. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. It was delicious, and I'm hoping to bring that for you as well, but not today. Not today. So let me have a little think. Let me look at my list and make sure I've covered all the points. Good, I think I have. I also wanted to say that the meals I'm going to be cooking in this series tend to be 1 or 2 pots. So for example, if I'm making a chili, I'm going to be using 2 pots because I need to cook the rice. I might use the microwave for certain things because it's a very handy tool. So simple meals, tasty, simple, nutritious, and fairly quick to make. That's what I'm aiming for. It's midweek. I don't really want to be spending hours in the kitchen putting something together. I mentioned not using recipes. The only time I really use a recipe if it's a completely new dish to me that I've never cooked before, that I'm trying out, or if I'm doing a cake or a pastry or a biscuit or cheese straws like I did the other day. You can see the video on that right here. We've also got a cookery playlist. I'm going to try not to repeat any of those dishes. So check out the cookery playlist as well, because there may be stuff in there that you'd like to try. But it's also going to be things that we enjoy, flavours we enjoy. I'm going to try to use some of the cookery skills, but most of it you'll be able to do at home. If you don't feel as though you're a cook, I'm not a cook, I'm just a home cook, I'm going to encourage you to just give things a try. Why not? There are going to be a few techniques that I will use. I'll probably be using the roux method of making a sauce or thickening something. I'll probably be sautéing quite a bit, a little bit of grilling perhaps, boiling, all those basic bits and pieces that we use. I guess it's time to think about what I'm going to cook for you today in this first episode. By the way, there's not going to be an introduction to each video like this. This is the first in the series, so I wanted to give you a little bit of background and the reasons why I wanted to sort of bring this series to you. It's really to inspire you a little bit, to just have a go and throw a few things together and see what happens. And I think also I'm trying to do this as cheaply as possible, using what we've got in. I have had a quick look in the freezer. I've had a look in the store cupboard. I've noticed that we've got quite a few Linda McCartney's sausages in stock. We've also got quite a few tins of baked beans. We've got lots of veggies, so we've got carrots, potatoes, onions. I think there's a pepper lurking in the fridge under the stairs. I've also got plenty of frozen veg as well. We've always got bouillon powder, always got yeast extract, and we've always got herbs and spices. I think, and I am genuinely thinking off the top of my head, I think I'm going to make a sausage and bean casserole. That's it. I think Paul would enjoy that when he gets in, because he's out this afternoon working. So it's up to me to provide the meal tonight. I provided the meal last night and the night before as well, I'll have you know. Yes. So I think I'm going to gather the ingredients together and go into the kitchen and put together a sausage and bean casserole. Slightly spicy, slightly. Have to be careful of spice because of Paul's Barrett's esophagus. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing now. I'm in the kitchen, I've gathered my ingredients, I've washed my vegetables, I've chopped them. Let's go through what I've got. Let me see, I could do with a pointer actually. So there are about 3 potatoes, which are partially peeled. I only peel the bad bits off. I've got the best part of a red pepper, which had seen better days, to be honest. Half of it I had to discard. I've got 3 sticks of celery, 2 small onions all chopped. I've got some grated carrot, frozen peas, frozen sweet corn, some sausages which I'm going to grill first because I want some colour on them. Got some yeast extract, olive oil, some sage, cumin, ground cumin, chilli powder, tin of tomatoes, chopped tomatoes, tin of baked beans in sauce, black pepper and some vegetable stock powder, and I'll be using some water as well from the kettle, some boiling water. Will I be using anything else with this? No, I think that's everything. Let's get cooking. I'm using this fairly shallow pan. I love this because it's got a lid. I can saute in it. I can do enough for Paul and I with some left over for another portion. It's great, love it. So let's get the heat on. A little bit of olive oil. Now with olive oil, you shouldn't really fry to a high temperature with olive oil. You can saute, and what I tend to do is get everything hot, but not absolutely madly hot, and put the lid on. Let it saute down. So I'm just turning the heat down a little bit. And I tend to go for the bung it all in method. So pretty, love the colours. Keeping the heat lowish, not too high. I'm just making sure everything's coated. Adding about half a teaspoon of chili powder. This is quite strong chili powder. A good teaspoon of cumin. Give that a stir in. I'm going to add my black pepper at this stage. Smells great. I love the smell of cumin when the spice is cooking off in the hot oil. I think it's important to remember at this stage that you don't need things to soften in this kind of recipe because it's going to soften in the stock. It's going to cook together in the stock. So I'm ready to add other things now. I'm going to add my carrots, peas and sweet corn. I grate my carrots because they add to the thickness of the sauce. They break down. You might need to turn the heat up if you're adding frozen stuff, because that will reduce the temperature naturally. I'm just going to increase the heat slightly. Just give it a good stir in. And we're not aiming to fry everything to death, we're just aiming to get everything nice and hot and combined. Those spices are cooked, so you keep the heat reasonably medium to low, I guess. It's fine. I'm going to add my potatoes now. This is the bulk. Again, just gently stir them in. Don't allow it to catch as well. You don't want anything to burn on the bottom. We're just stirring it through, heating up the potato chunks. I'm going to add my sage now. So I'm adding a good pinch, probably a teaspoonful, maybe a little bit more. There we go. I can hear that's coming up to temperature, so I'm going to turn the heat down to low. Stir the sage in, so I don't want anything to burn. Lovely. That's looking good. Looking colourful. I'm going to add the chopped tomatoes. Gently stir them in. And to add the bouillon powder, the vegetable stock powder. And what I'm going to do is with this tin, sorry, you can't probably see that very well. With this tin I'm going to put some water into that to rinse it out. Just half filled. Giving it a good mix to incorporate that vegetable stock powder. I've put the kettle on because I need some boiling water to add to this. The next ingredient to go in is the tin of baked beans. Stir them in. That's good. So the thing to consider at this point is that the liquid is just covering the potatoes. So we need to bring in just a little bit more liquid in the form of some hot water from the kettle. Stir that in. We want to increase the heat now. We want to bring it to a boil. As we're doing that, we're going to add a teaspoon of yeast extract, a good teaspoon. And you need to stir this in. This not only gives colour, but it gives a lovely savoury flavour. You can leave it out if you want to. You could add a little bit more salt, or you could add some soy sauce or some liquid aminos. You could add some red wine if you wanted to. You can see that's coming up to the boil quite quickly, which is good because we've kept the heat on and we've used hot water. You don't really want to be in a situation where you've got a lot of cold ingredients that you're having to wait for a good 10 minutes for them to heat up. That's why we keep the heat on low. That's why we stir things. But what the aim of the game now is to get these potatoes cooked. And while we do that, we're going to put the sausages on because they'll be the final ingredient that we will add. And what will happen is some of the potatoes that are smaller, because I've varied the size of the chunks, some of those, along with the carrots, will break down to keep the sauce nice and thick. This would be ideal served with a big piece of lovely, gorgeous bread, actually. So make sure all your potatoes are sort of under the liquid. Turn the heat up. We want to really bring it to a boil now. Once it comes to a boil, turn it down to a simmer and put the lid on. A simmer is just bubbling and the heat is on low. Put the lid on, and that needs to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until the potatoes are cooked. Now it's time to put the grill on and get the sausages cooked. I put my sausages onto a baking sheet. Ooh, bit of cardboard there. I drizzle a little bit of olive oil over them, just a little bit, and then give them a turn. This helps them to really brown nicely. And I'm going to pop them under the preheated grill, and they will do in about, I think they're about 6 or 7 minutes per side. So the sausages are cooked. They took about, I don't know, 12 minutes, 14 minutes, something like that. They've got a nice bit of colour on. So what I'm going to do is give them a chop and pop them into the casserole. I have to resist eating these. They look absolutely divine. These are the, I think they've got rosemary in them. They're Linda McCartney, and they are juicy and delicious. Right, let's get those into the casserole so they can soak up some of the flavours. As you can see, the casserole is bubbling away. Pop the sausage in. Let's give that a stir. I think it's worthwhile mentioning that when you're cooking potato in a slightly thicker sauce than water, it can take a little longer for the potato to cook. So I'm going to test the potato at this stage. You can see that it's not just falling off easily. It's taking a while to fall off. They still feel quite firm, so I would estimate that they're going to take probably, I would probably say another 5 to 10 minutes to be on the safe side. And I'm going to leave the lid off now, so some of this juice will start to evaporate. We'll get a slightly thicker sauce, and the sausage is going to soak up the flavours. I'm sure this is going to be a winner. I think it's going to be full of flavour, and I can't wait to eat it. Oh. Paul is home now as well, so I said to him, why don't we have an early dinner? Because I want to dive in, frankly, with a nice big piece of bread, homemade bread. You can actually feel that it's becoming a really nice consistency. I think it looks gorgeous and full of goodness, hopefully full of flavour. One thing that a good cook should always do is try the seasoning, check the seasoning, whether it needs any more salt or pepper. I'm going to do that now. Taking a clean spoon and just taking a little bit of the sauce I'm going to try that. It's lovely. It's got a little kick to it. It's tomatoey. Peppery. It's good. I'm sure it's going to be great. Okay, it's been cooking for another sort of 10 minutes or so. Let's have a look. I put the lid on because I didn't want any more of the juice to evaporate. And also you don't want it to stick. It's just starting to. That's looking absolutely gorgeous. Gosh, I can't wait. I think the potato is just cooked. It won't do it any harm to cook a little bit longer. I'm going to put the lid on. In fact, what I'm going to do is put the lid on, turn the heat off, and any remaining cooking we'll do in the residual heat of the dish. Almost ready to eat. Looks good. So Paul, try my tasty sausage. That's rude. So here we are, sausage casserole with bread and butter, homemade bread, lovely. I tried not to make it too spicy.
It's lovely.
Should have a little kick to it.
Yeah, a little kick. It's lovely. I've been in the rain today, so it's perfect.
Paul has been out on a demonstration today, haven't you, Paul?
I have.
You're doing the PR on a demonstration, which you'll hear all about if you follow us on social media.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. But yeah, I got quite wet, so this is fabulous.
I think the thing to remember about a recipe like this, the spices and herbs, they can be anything you want. You could use paprika.
Oh, smoked paprika.
Yeah, that would be delicious actually. I don't think we've got any smoked paprika, have we?
No, not at the moment.
But that's the whole point of this series. Use what you've got. Use what you've got. It's tasty, it's warm, it's going to be very filling, especially with the bread. So we're going to chow down. Thanks so much for choosing to watch. We really appreciate it. And there'll be more home-cooked goodness from us as time goes by.
Lovely.
Delicious.
And tomatoes. Tin of tomatoes. Lovely.